Hey, it's Jordan from jordangrayconsulting.com, and today we're going to talk about how to set boundaries in relationships. Now, conversations around personal boundaries are far and beyond one of the most common things that I deal with my coaching clients one-on-one. And there can be a little bit of a lack of clarity as to what boundaries actually are. I define boundaries as your individual ability to say no or hear no. Now, to kind of paint a picture of life with and without boundaries, when your boundaries are functioning well, you have high self-esteem, you have a lot of energy, vitality, enthusiasm for life. You feel very generous, very giving, very loving, very open with the people around you because you can trust them because you're trusting yourself. And when your boundaries are not functioning well, you'll be tired, exhausted, burnt out, resentful, fearful, avoidant of the people around you because you're not setting your appropriate limits as to what is reasonable for you in your relationships. And so people will just, if your boundaries are porous, people will walk all over you and you'll grow to resent them, understandably. Now, the biggest reason that people don't set boundaries in their relationships is that they fear love. As A Course in Miracles once said, everything we do is either love or a call for love. And so it makes total sense that you would fear that, oh, but if I say no to this person, or if I don't give this person the love or care or attention that I've always given them flawlessly, unendingly, then they'll turn on me, then I'll lose that relationship, then I'll lose that love, then I'll be in trouble. And that's enough for most people to just continue on over-functioning and grinding themselves into the ground and being overrun and overexhausted. It's absolutely imperative that you prioritize your relationship to yourself, your self-respect, your boundaries, over your assumptions about what other people think of you or other people's perceptions of you, whether real or imagined. And yes, to put it bluntly, you may lose relationships, friendships, intimate partners, by setting boundaries. If you say, these are my limits, my standards for relationship are here, and they can't meet you or don't want to meet you or choose not to meet you, then yes, some people might exit your life in a worst case scenario, which can often actually be a blessing in disguise. And if that happens, you will be better off for it. If a relationship in your life is that fragile that you honoring yourself isn't in alignment with what they're looking for, then they're not in alignment with what you're looking for in your life. Then that person should be repelled from your field. Now, I want to talk really quickly about the difference between rigid boundaries and dynamic boundaries, because one question that comes up a lot with my clients when we're talking about boundary setting is that people might have boundaries or standards they want to honor that are true most of the time, and this is healthy, this is ideal. Most boundaries, short of I want a partner that doesn't punch me in the face, or I want a partner that doesn't publicly ridicule me for minutes at a time at dinner parties. Like, there are things that you're allowed to have a hard and fast, rigid boundary about. This isn't acceptable, don't do this. And ideally, you are going for dynamic boundaries in most of your intimate relationships. Again, personal, intimate, otherwise. Because there are times when you will want to slightly overfunction, or you will have something that is relatively more permeable or shiftable or porous compared to, no, this is a rule that I have and it's 100% true 100% of the time. Maybe one example is when you come home from work, you really enjoy having a few minutes to yourself to decompress and kind of transition your mind from work day to home time. And this can be true, close to 100% of the time, but there might be times when you come home and that boundary isn't valid, when you do want to come home and immediately connect with your partner and hug them and tell them about your day or hear about their day or just get out of your head through whatever means possible. And this is something that could be a 98% of the time hard no, but that doesn't mean that it has to be rigid. It has to be, this is always how I am, without fail. If you're still on the fence as to why boundaries are important, or if you can really lean into this growth edge of saying no more often, one thing that I found really helpful in my journey with boundary setting is acknowledging that you absolutely cannot please everyone. A lot of people that have the most challenges with boundaries, they are people pleasers. They overfunction because they want to make sure that all the relationships in their life are completely smooth sailing and everyone's happy and everyone's taken care of. And even if you do get to a place where you are being that person, being that helper or aid for so many other people, and your relationship with them is, seemingly flawless or intact, at that point, your relationship to yourself will be full of holes and, not high functioning in the slightest. So at a certain point, you have to decide, am I exclusively living for others, or am I allowed to extend myself the same love and compassion that I extend to other people? So to name it directly, yes, there will be times, and there should be times, when your standards, your boundaries will upset others to some extent. And again, if you say no about something and it really triggers them and it really offends them, then that's on them. That's their boundary setting issue. As I mentioned earlier in the video, boundary setting is about your ability to say no and hear no. So if you, ask your partner to be an emotional support for you, you want them to hold space while you share about your day, or you initiate sex and they're not in the mood, if you hear their no and take it personally and get really in your head and grumpy and sad about it and make it mean something more than it is, then that's your stuff. And so if someone else doesn't like your no, doesn't like your boundary being set, then that's on them and isn't for you to overly concern yourself with managing. So to wrap this up, really get comfortable saying no. Make no one of your best friends. This stuff will be relatively harder in the first couple days or weeks of doing this, especially if you've had more permeable, porous boundaries in the past. It will feel like a foreign concept to actually honor yourself and say, you know what, no, I'm not available for this, or I can't do this, this is too much, I am tired, I need me time. But ultimately, your life and relationships will completely transform by you really getting comfortable with saying, here are my limits, here's what I'm available for, and really checking in with your body more often than not, as opposed to just going to this knee-jerk autopilot response of, I have to do these things because I should, or I need to, or it's expected of me. You're allowed to honor yourself, you're allowed to hold on to your energy, and make yourself a priority. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can see all the new videos I'll be putting out in the near future, and I hope you have an amazing day.